I'm here with Darren Thompson from Yamaha, and what we're going to do now is run through how to set the race sag on the rear shock. So the first thing we need to do, Tomo, is get a measurement while the bike's on the stand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Take the weight off the bike so there's no load on the rear wheel. The tool I like to use is a Sag Master tool. It has some measurements along the top here and it's really accurate.
So Tomo's placed the Sag Master in the rear axle. He'll set it and measure up to the side panel here. With the Sag Master, you set that at 0, so that's your setting. So now we'll grab the bike off the stand. What Tomo needs to do is get the rider that we're setting the sag for. In this case, Chris Urquhart's going to jump on. And now we're getting the sag level, how much the rear shock sags with the rider on the bike. So ideally, probably around 100 mil is ideal, but right now we're probably off a little bit. That means the bike's sagging a bit too much for what is ideal. So we'll get Chris off the bike now and adjust it and try and get it in that range or get it right on that spot of 100 mil sag with the rider on the bike. So what we'll need to do now, you'll see Tomo needs to adjust the preload that's on the spring. So he's winding the spring down, basically tightening up the amount of preload on the spring. He's given it a few turns, doesn't take too much, guys. So now with those few turns of preload on the spring, we're back on and that's pretty much got it spot on now. The sag is back to 100 mil and that's exactly where you'd want it. Generally, that's the sag level you want for most riders. Okay, so 100 mil. Now what you have to double check is what's called static sag. So how much the rear of the bike sags just under its own weight. If you have a look, right now we've got about 30 mil static sag, which is spot on. So basically that means the amount of preload that's on that shock is in the correct position for the rider. So once you've got all those measurements in the correct position, your 30 mil of the static sag, which is the bike's own weight by itself, and then 100 mil when the rider's on it. The last thing you need to do, guys, is tighten back up that lock ring on top of the preload adjuster on the shock. Don't forget to do that. You don't want that to come loose or the spring to unwind itself when you're riding. So lock that back up like Tomo just did. And then once that's all done, that's got the bike set up and you're ready to hit the track. Just one thing to add, guys. If those measurements don't line up, if you get the rider sag to 100 mil and you've only got 10 mil static sag, or maybe you've got no static sag at all, you've wound that much preload on, the bike's sitting topped out, that means you need a spring change. Refer to your owner's manual to get the correct spring for the rider weight, and you'll have to go to your dealer, get that new spring, go through that process again and get your static sag and your rider sag spot on, then you're ready to hit the track.